And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome here to race number 32 of the season, the next to last playoff race for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. We're here tonight under the lights at the Iowa Speedway. At the conclusion of this evening's event, we will know the four drivers that will be moving on to battle for the championship at ISM Raceway. I'm Seth Cole alongside Samuel Dyer. And Sam, it's a short track that determines those final two spots in the playoffs. You have to think that there's going to be a lot of close quarter racing here tonight. A lot of drivers are going to have that push comes to shove mentality, especially with the scenarios we have for the remaining six drivers.
Yeah, we already know two drivers that are locked in. That's going to be David Santini and Logan Helton based off of their wins with David Santini back at Texas and for Helton back at Kansas. And those were 2.5-mile tracks. Here at the short track of Iowa, things are looking a little bit more different for these drivers. Still the same top two up front, but everyone else, they've been running some pretty quick times, with Longacre looking swell to keep himself in the top four. But Jeffrey Meyer running around with qualifying around 7th place. He's someone to watch out for. And Tim Williams, in a must-win scenario in that 19 machine, he'll be qualifying in 6th.
Also, drivers that are technically in must-win situations coming into this would include Carson Bowers and Kevin Roy. You talked about our front row, our two previous winners that come into this race now, locked into the final four. David Santini in the 99, Logan Helton in the 8. Santini, of course, winning last week at Texas, and Logan Helton winning the week before that at Kansas Speedway. And I have to think that for these two drivers, they're coming into this one trying to basically mano-a-mano each other as to who's going to be the top dog when they get to that championship battle at Iowa at Phoenix, I should say, next week.
Yeah, I mean, really, David Santini as well as Logan Helton have been the fastest drivers all season long, both of them having the most wins in this series. So really, they've been looking like the best of the best out here. It's going to be interesting to see, though, if we see anyone else step up. But it is going to be a hard-fought battle to see who's going to point their way in. Barry Stevens, the only driver who can officially point his way in here tonight, but he's asking for a lot from all the other drivers.
Got a number of drivers here tonight as well. As you mentioned, we got 16 drivers that will take the green flag here this evening, and some names that have returned that we haven't seen in a while. Two-time winner this season in TJ Crampton is in the field here tonight. Tom Laneville in the 18. We haven't seen him for quite a while, so nice to see some of these drivers coming back here near the close of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers race around here, and if any of them can try to compete with the drivers. I'm going to try to get the word of what's going on, but Jeffrey Meyer just got dinged with a penalty, with the EOL penalty to the end of the line. I'm trying to see exactly what it is. I think it's because he doesn't have the red on his spoiler.
Yep, I think you're exactly right. See, the spoiler is black. The drivers that all are the playoff contenders are to have the red spoiler, indicating they are in the playoffs. And so a tough break there for Jeffrey Meyer. Going to be a little bit of an early hole he'll have to dig himself out of. But due to the fact that he came into this race 9 points ahead of the cut line, we'll have to see if he can at least manage that gap here this evening. 200 laps. Seems like a long one, but it takes him less than 30 seconds to make a lap around this track as we're underway.
And just like that, David Santini on the inside, but don't look now, as Tim Laneville, going to be Tom Laneville actually in that 18 machine, hugging that yellow line. And already into the wall, it's going to be the 8 of Helton.
Also, Tim Williams in the 19, and I think turn 2 is going to be our biggest trouble spot here tonight. Saw a lot of drivers in practice that ended up going around out of the exit of the second corner. I thought maybe being nighttime conditions, they have a little bit more grip, but this is one of those short tracks that have that progressive banking about 12 to 14 degrees in the corner. You see Santini get loose there.
Car going to be spinning around. TJ Crampton on the exit of turn 2.
And he's down on the apron, out of harm's way, so no caution will come out for the spinning 22 car. As Helton to the point, Santini to second, Laneville now in third, Supras hold the top 3 spots.
And Jeffrey Meyer, who is one of the drivers that was inside of our top 4 entering this race. Right now, if the race ended, he'll be outside of the bubble and would be knocked out. But that 38 machine looking for some help as Santini under fire by that 18.
He's way back there. Did he maybe have to slow down quite a bit to avoid TJ Crampton and thusly lost the lead pack?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. He had to really slow down, and it's been cost him about 2 seconds, and he's trying to gain it back. But right now, that 38 machine might be going for the long run, possibly with how slow he's running. But it is not looking good for Jeffrey Meyer at the moment.
Look at this, 3 drivers, 3 different lanes. You had Helton choose the top, Santini took the lower middle, and right down the bottom was Tom Laneville. So it looks like here tonight, at least based on the way these drivers have their car set up, Iowa is going to play host to multiple grooves.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of drivers trying to inch and try to fight for where the speed's at. For some, they feel like that middle groove is the most preferred line. Others, hugging that yellow line is the better spot. But as the night progresses, we might be seeing drivers start to shift up into that second lane once wear gets into their tires.
Tim Williams hit the wall, or brushed the wall, I should say, back on the first lap. He is dropped back to 6th. He just actually took that spot away from Aaron Tyner, who is falling to the back quite quickly in the 51 machine. Another driver, a couple cars back there, is actually making his debut here tonight. The 88 of Matthew Van Gelder, as he nearly gets the wall off of 4, opening the door for Kevin Roy.
Yeah, usually coming to the end of the season for these series, new drivers start to show their faces, trying to get a feel of what the field is like to set up for next season. So it's good to see Van Gelder here and see if this 88 machine can find himself with a top 10, possibly a top 5 finish.
16 of Carson Bowers, another driver coming to this race, must-win situation. Last couple of weeks, we've actually seen all 3 of the Colleague Racing drivers in the field. Matt White is not here this evening. Right now, Longacre running in 4th, and Carson Bowers trying to see if he can get the 2 Colleague Racing cars that made the playoffs into the Final 4, but it really looks like he's struggling with that race car. He almost slid up into the wall off of 2.
Yeah, Carson Bowers did not look quick during practice. This was already going to be a hard race for this 16 machine, who was put in a must-win scenario after the early struggles back at Kansas. And, it's one of those things where early in the round, if you have struggles then, you got to be digging a hole out the whole entire rest of the way. And Carson Bowers, he's not been having the best round of 8 so far.
You did have a battle for the 6th position between Dylan Canova and Tim Williams. Williams holds on to the spot for the moment, but it looks like that 39 might be just a little bit faster as he let Tim Williams have the spot for a moment, but you can see him mounting a charge again here on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Canova actually is a very quick car based off of practice. Did not set a qualifying time. Started back in 13th place, 4th fastest during practice, and slowly has been shipping his way forward up to 7th at the moment. And Canova, someone to watch out for later in this race.
Take a look at our track info for the evening. Outside temperature 64. The track temp not much different. About 2 degrees higher at 66 degrees. That's pretty optimal cool track conditions for these drivers in terms of being able to preserve their tires. But based on the fact that it's a low banked short track, it still is going to, I think, affect the tires. Somewhat contact between Canova and Williams. Canova's going to go around in turn 1. He saved it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that was Tim Williams dropping down. I don't think he realized that 39 was there. And a fantastic save by Canova, but frustration for that 39 machine.
It was almost a combination of the 39 coming up to get some side draft and the 19 coming down to pin down Canova. And unfortunately, they made some contact and then made a little bit more contact. Great job by both of those drivers not to wreck, as for a brief moment, it looked like Tim Williams was going to shoot up into the outside wall in turn 1. And then as we just saw, it looked like Canova was going to spin it around, entering under the inside line of turn 1. But the battle for the lead is on, Sam.
Yeah, they've been battling. And really, the thing is, they've been running such different lines. And for the longest time, it looked like it was working for Helton. And he continues to hold off the lead. Just Santini, with the way that Helton is entering his corners and on exit, he's able to hold off on that outside with getting the run off the back or front stretch. So this 8 machine, he's finding the speed, but Santini, the question is, it seems like on the longer runs and the longer it goes on, that's when the 99 machine really starts hitting his groove.
It's been so much fun to watch these 2 drivers during the course of the season. They're both teammates out of the same stable, but David Santini was on a huge winning streak back in the first half of the regular season. Then it was Logan Helton, who ended up getting quite a number of wins during the second half of the regular season and the beginning of the playoffs. They came into this race 8 wins for Santini, 7 wins for Helton. We know they've both won during this round. They're locked in the Final Four, and they carried over that rivalry here into practice, both going out there, setting down hot qualifying laps, trying to out-qualify each other in terms of being top of the board in the practice speeds. So, you know, these guys, you know that this is going to continue on when we get to ISM. Our big question is, though, who is in the field that looks like they're going to be advancing into the Final Four as well, looking at guys like Longacre and Meyer, as Santini tries the slide job and it will work. I mean, do we see them being able to compete with these two BJ McLeod Toyotas?
I mean, they're going to have, I mean, right now, of the drivers that possibly could, if we can somehow see Barry Stevens get in, I mean, he's shown some pace, has one win this season at Bristol, but that win was after seeing the 99 and the 8 both be taken out of that race. So it's going to be hard to say. I mean, Longacre has shown consistency in the top 5, almost won back at Kansas, but I mean, that was based off some tire strategy, and ISM, usually it's the car that is the most dominant there gets the win. So a lot of these drivers have to really focus and hunker down to have the best setup for that race.
There's Barry Stevens in the 78 right now, running in the 4th position. The car that right now he has to keep tabs on is the 38 of Jeffrey Meyer. Meyer just got around Carson Bowers when Meyer was running in 13th. Both the 38 and the 78 were tied for the final playoff position, but with making that pass for 12th and about to make this pass on Cole Hooper for 11th, Jeffrey Meyer will have the advantage by 2 points in that battle for the final transfer spot.
Also, another battle that's about to brew of a little bit of contact earlier of Canova and Williams. They are now close to one another, and we'll see if Canova can make this pass cleanly, or we'll see some more rubbing and racing going on.
Boy, Canova really good there on exit off of 2. Drives it deep on Tim Williams, and there's no contest there. Have to wonder if that little bit of a brush that Tim Williams had the outside wall, if that might be affecting him now, because it almost looks like that car can't even turn off the corner.
Yeah, and it could be the fact of tires already affecting this machine, as the tire wear, based off of our leaders and their best lap times, they're running about 7/10 off of what their best lap times were. And like we've seen, have been racing for 22 laps. The tire wear is something to watch out for the longer the run goes on.
Watching the hands there of Tim Williams inside that number 19 out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Very smooth, very steady. Doesn't look like his car, at least for the moment, is ill handling in terms of loose off the corner. We usually have the telltale signs of the hands jerking back to the right, as Barry Stevens trying to make it BJ McLeod 1, 2, 3 here in the running order, trying to take that 3rd spot away from Tom Laneville.
Yeah, there was almost some contact. I think there might have been slight contact between the 18 and the 78 through 3 and 4 on that last lap, as they were right on top of one another. But Barry Stevens, the longer this run goes on, that 78 car is coming alive, and yeah, I'm not surprised. 1, 2, 3, BJ McLeod.
Kevin Roy about to get past. That's for 6th. So Canova working his way up towards the top 5. Evan Longacre, you know, the last 2.5-mile tracks we've been at, Kansas and Texas, he's been one of those guys that qualifies around the midway portion of the field, kind of settles in at the beginning, waits for the long run to come to him, and then works his way to the front. We haven't seen him fall outside of the top 5 here since the drop of the green flag. So Longacre, it looks like tonight, with it being a short track, not willing to go with the long run strategy. It looks like he's trying to get everything he can get, especially early on in this one.
Yeah, and the 18 of Tom Laneville looking like that 18 machine is a short run car, as he's running way off of what our other machines have been running. He's running about 1/10 to 2/10 off of what our leaders have been putting down. I also was looking at battles in the back. Carson Bowers had a little bit of a scare as Cole Hooper got into the wall about 2 laps ago, coming out of 2, and Carson Bowers almost had nowhere to go trying to get around that 00.
Wow, you can definitely see that right front damage on the Haas Racing number 00 Ford of Cole Hooper. He has hit that outside wall a ton, and I have a feeling the longer this race goes on and the more that the tires wear down, especially the heat buildup in that right front, we're going to see a lot more drivers with damage around that area of their cars.
Yeah, and it's just something to keep your eyes out on, as so far our biggest movers and losers, biggest mover is going to be Canova in that 39 machine, up to 6th place after starting back in 13th. Our biggest loser so far, TJ Crampton, after that spin early in the race, started 9th back to 16th.
Yeah, TJ right now currently running just ahead of David Santini, and looks like he is very quickly going to be put a lap down, probably around less than 30 laps into this race. So certainly not what the two-time winner wanted to have happen to him early on in this race. I was talking with TJ Crampton a couple of weeks ago, asking him, when are we going to see you back in the race car? And he said, probably at Iowa. There was actually some big news as well. TJ Crampton will be returning to the series next season, driving the number 61 for Colleague Racing. His 2 wins this season have come with 2 different teams. Penske Racing was his most recent. His first win here in the series was back for MBM Motorsports when he put the number 66 in victory lane.
Yeah, no, TJ Crampton, when he first came in, really showed a lot of pace, and now he has the pace, I think, for a championship next season. The interesting thing is, will Colleague be the place for it? And also with joining TJ Crampton onto that team, how much will it be just helping that team as a whole going forward? As the battle for the lead, they are still right on top of one another as they were getting by that 22 machine. And Logan Helton, I'm surprised to see it. He's still hanging on to the 99.
And he's got an entirely different approach to the corner than Santini. I think Santini just noticed it too. He's trying to take away Helton's line. Helton has been running in the upper groove on entry and then diving it down to the inside on corner exit. It's been giving him some great straightaway speed. And now you see Santini doing more mirror driving than anything, trying to take Helton's line away.
Yeah, they continue to just deking each other whatever way they want to go, as here comes Helton on the inside now. Going to be pushing Santini up, and will it be a slide job? Nope, they're still side by side off the exit of 4.
I remember for these 2 drivers, the only thing that's really on the line for them here tonight is obviously the mental advantage going into ISM for that championship battle, and then of course that trophy as well, that checkered flag. They are already locked. Oh, Santini got the wall. They're off of 2. But they're already locked into the championship 4. They cannot accumulate any more playoff points that would carry over into that final round. So these drivers right here, there's no doubt they are going to run this entire 200 lapper at 110% and try and see which of the 2 can take that checkered flag, or maybe take each other out trying to do that.
Yeah, no, this is all about momentum and carrying it forward into ISM next week for that championship race, as these 2 are the favorites going in. I mean, they've just been so dominant for BJ McLeod. We're not even surprised, as I'm right now watching also, as we're watching our leaders battle it up. Jeffrey Meyer has just passed Tim Williams, and now going to be passing Aaron Tyner now for 8th place. 38 machine might have started off with the EOL, started back in 16th place, working himself now up to 8th place, and now he's got Kevin Roy 3 seconds in front of him.
Meyer is now halfway through the field, and now trying to work his way up into the first half of the field, currently in that 8th position, and every spot that he picks up is bad news for Barry Stevens, who is running up inside of the top 3 in 3rd, but came into this race 9 points behind Jeffrey Meyer. Evan Longacre running in 4th. So right now, the 38 and the 10 doing exactly what they need to do to point their way into that Final 4 next week.
Yeah, with Barry Stevens running in 3rd place, I believe Jeffrey Meyer needs to finish back in, I believe he has to be back in about 12th position for Barry Stevens to point his way into the next round. But with both Longacre and Jeffrey Meyer within the top 10, it's not looking good for the 78 team.
Logan Helton got the wall that time off of turn 2 as 2 race leaders working their way through traffic. They just got by the 0-1 of Matt Knight of JD Motorsports, and they're not too far away from catching up to another 3 drivers, Roger Gregory, Cole Hooper, and Carson Bowers. So if you've got a car that has struggled in the early portions of this race, you're in trouble, because it's not going to take long for these race leaders to make it around this 7/8 of a mile track.
No, it really isn't. And the question now for these drivers to look out for is, what type of pit strategy are they going to be thinking about doing? Some drivers might be thinking about a 1-stop. Others might be thinking about a 2-stop, just based off the tire drop-off so far. The tires officially have dropped off for our leaders about a second or more. So you could be gaining some time if you pit early enough to be trying to short pit and gain time. But would a 2-tire pit stop be worth it, though, with how much time you'd lose coming into pit road?
That's exactly what I'm thinking, because, yeah, at most tracks, 1.5-mile tracks, you're probably going to lose 1 lap. At a super speedway, you're more than likely not going to lose any laps. But at a short track like this, you're going to lose at least 2, maybe 3 laps, depending on where you're running in the field. And we've seen so many drivers here up at the front, middle, and rear of the field that have gotten up into that wall. There's no guarantee that someone may not hit it so hard that they spin down across the track and bring out a caution. Last thing you want to do is be trapped 2 laps down after coming to pit road and have a yellow flag come out just after that.
Yeah, and right now everyone's getting pretty spread out. Our leader is one of the closest battles that's going on. Also a battle for 11th place with Carson Bowers, as well with the 88 machine for 11th, as this is a pretty heated battle going on, as they're within 0.3 of one another, as well as our leaders being close. And I mean, everyone is trying to run the best that they can, but this is just, with us having a total of only 13 drivers on the lead lap, and our leaders catching up to these back guys. I mean, this is about to be probably the most close action our leaders are going to have, with a lot of lap traffic.
Boy, that was a close call off of 4. The battle for 11th you were talking about between Carson Bowers and Matthew Van Gelder nearly went wrong as Van Gelder pushed up out of the final corner and nearly clipped the left rear quarter panel of the number 16, but they keep it together for the moment. And that battling, the reason they're battling so hard, you can see they're on the same straightaway as the race leader, David Santini.
Yeah, Santini and Helton are coming. They're still nose to tail, and they're about to hop on board and try to pass the 00 of Cole Hooper here. And then they'll go after the 88 and the 16. That's only within 0.6 of that. So this is, I think, Helton's time. If he can somehow use these drivers in front of him as a pick, if he was close enough. I think he's a little bit too far back now to try to make a chance for a pass on our leader.
Kind of interesting, the last couple of laps, Logan Helton's drove it really deep down into the corner, but when they caught up to that slower machine of Hooper, Helton actually ran the middle line as Santini was trapped on the inside, having to pass the 00. So I'm actually surprised Helton didn't stick with the trying to drive it deep into the corner, try and close up the ground between himself and the 99, as Santini now having to deal with Van Gelder about to put the 12th place car lap down.
Third place running Barry Stevens gets into the wall out at 2 on that 78 machine. He was running just as fast as our leaders at points, even a little bit faster than them. But after scrubbing the wall there, that's going to be hurting this 78's time a ton.
You know, we talk about the fact that there's a real good battle for that final spot in the playoffs between Evan Longacre and Barry Stevens. Stevens is the 3rd entry out of the BJ McLeod Motorsports team, but right now, his teammates, David Santini and Logan Helton, being out in front is the best thing that can happen for Evan Longacre, because he needs to have one of these 2 drivers go to victory lane, or a driver that's not in the playoffs, because if Stevens, Williams, Bowers, or Roy go to victory lane, Longacre, who came in 4th in points, would be the first driver eliminated out of that top 4.
Well, at the moment where they're running now, looking good, but if somehow we see our top 3 swap, and no one else changes, then right now I believe Longacre would make it in, and it would actually be Jeffrey Meyer who would be bumped out of the top 4, as he's still trying to make his climb forward. Jeffrey Meyer within a second of Kevin Roy to be moving up to 7th place.
Saw Logan Helton get the wall there again, and you know, a couple of drivers we've seen make some heavy impact with the outside wall. Other drivers, it's just kind of been a brush. But how many hits or how many brushes can you take to that outside wall before it's really going to start affecting the handling of your race car, as well as those right side tires?
I mean, at this point, as long as you don't actually ding in any quarter panels or mess with the spoiler, you should be all right. I mean, one of the cars that has hit it probably the hardest would most likely be the 00 of Cole Hooper, who completely hit it with his front bumper, which then slingshotted his back end to hit the wall. And you're starting to see him. He's running back at 13th place, as well as Matt Knight. He's clobbered it pretty well. TJ Crampton's hit it hard too. It's all the drivers that are in the back half that are running about a second to a second and a half slower than our leaders just because of that damage.
Jeffrey Meyer now hunting down Kevin Roy. This is going to be a battle for 7th place. Meyer still able to hook the bottom of the racetrack with that 38. Gets a nice run on the corner exit, and he will slide to the inside going into turn 3, moving into P7. Meyer, who had to start at the rear of the field for not having the playoff context, as he nearly just came up into Kevin Roy there off of turn 4.
Yeah, Kevin Roy, he's trying to figure out this car, as, you know, it's still been loose for a lot of these drivers. They're still trying to figure out how to contain these animals, just because how much horsepower these cars have. Get on the throttle too soon, you could be seeing your car wiggling out of shape off exit. as our leaders still within 0.3 of one another, which is incredible to see. I mean, they do this week after week, but we've been running for 52 laps, and it's still incredible, even with the tire drop off, that our leaders are still running this close to one another.
You know what's really surprising here too, I mentioned the fact it's a short track, it's less than a mile in length, but Iowa Speedway seems to be one of those strange tracks where it doesn't really match in terms of the type of racing we see as opposed to the length that the track is. When you think a short track, you think Martinsville, you think Bristol, everyone really close proximity racing to each other, but really Iowa Speedway, it's called a speedway just basically for the reason it does actually race like a speedway. It's almost as if these guys were at a mile or a mile and a half track.
Yeah, it really does. It's just based off that progressive banking and the fact that the front stretch is so long and you can carry so much speed out of these corners that it is incredible how much speed you can really carry. As Canova now has made the pass by Laneville, and that 18 of Laneville, that car is just running so off. You could just tell he's got a great short run for the first about 20 laps. Then it just drops off like a rock. He's running just as fast as the cars that are back in 11th place as he's running in 6th.
That I think a lot of that was in part, that pass for the 5th position was due in part to the 0-1 of Matt Knight, the slower machine kind of maybe holding up one of the other drivers. And we do have a driver on pit road. This is undoubtedly an unscheduled stop for Cole Hooper in the 00, probably coming down to get that right front damage repaired. I'm assuming he's probably been in the wall yet again. Either that or that hard shot we saw him take earlier. It's just affecting him too much now for him to stay out there.
And I believe that was another shot that he took, because that whole entire right side, it's just dented in. And, if you pancake it, which is hitting it parallel with your car in the wall, there's not as much. Yes, it's going to hurt just a little bit arrow-wise, but it shouldn't hurt you here at a short track too much. But if you hit the wall in an angle in any sorts of hitting it with your rear end or your front end, and your car slams in an awful angle, you are causing way more damage to your car than you would if you just hit it parallel, like you said, with a simple pancake. And a 00 of Cole Hooper, a lot of damage, and now going to be 2 laps down after pit coming into the pits.
Logan Helton gets the wall off of 2 again. Looking here at our top 5, quite interesting. This is the second time this season that the drivers have taken to Iowa Speedway. These drivers were here during the midway point of the regular season, and 4 of the top 5 finishers from that event are running up inside of the top 5 here, as Helton had a wheelful in his hands there coming off of turn 2, but Santini leading this race was the winner of the first Iowa race. Logan Helton running 2nd, finished 5th there. Evan Longacre, who's running in 4th, he finished 2nd. And Barry Stevens right now holding the 3rd position. He finished 4th here the first time we're at Iowa. So looks like the Iowa experience from earlier on this season carrying over into tonight.
Yeah, Iowa really is something to watch out for. And here comes Laneville in the 18 machine into the pits, as, like we stated, his tires really dropped off compared to the rest of the field. As officially, I believe that a lot of these drivers are aiming for that 80 lap marker to come into the pits, or thinking about also around lap 95. Some drivers might even try to risk it and even try to go over the halfway point with these tires and then come into the pits to try to have the least amount of fuel and the best amount of tires to finish out this race.
I believe that the last time we were here at Iowa, I think we ran 180 laps, and Santini led 143 of those. So far, he has led 62 laps of our 200. And trying to see if maybe he can completely sweep this race. As we just saw Tom Laneville on pit road, he's actually now made the left-hand turn to the garage area. So it's great to see Tom Laneville back. Was running pretty well at the early stages of this race, but we saw him drifting towards the rear of the field, the tires going away, and he has called it an early night.
Yeah, that's 2 unscheduled stops so far, and now the question is, when will we start to see other drivers come in, as we've got a wadded up amount of cars here with the 00 of Cole Hooper, as well as TJ Crampton, Matt Knight, and Kevin Roy all on top of one another right now.
A couple of lead lap cars and a number of lap down cars. all in their own little battles. All of these drivers, with the exception of Cole Hooper, have not been to pit road yet. Hooper's the only one out there that's on fresher tires. And even with the fresher tires, he's only running about 0.3 of a second faster than our race leaders.
Yeah, I mean, right now, that damage is just so heavy that it is very hard for him to be running into these corners as aggressive as you'd like to, and also getting back onto the throttle. It's very difficult for him to be turning here with that front end damage.
In a battle that's brewing around the 10th position. These are a couple of lap down machines. They're battling for a spot inside the top 10. Carson Bowers in the 16, the 88 of Matthew Van Gelder. As Van Gelder trying to get the run off of 4. Looks like he may have gotten a little bit loose, had to gather it back up, lost some speed. Man, look at Carson Bowers there. That car major wiggle off of turn 2.
Yeah, as we're seeing this battle going on, we're also about to have a battle back for 4th place. About to merge behind these guys as you got Evan Longacre and Dylan Canova is on top of one another as the 88 machine now into the pits.
And Gelder gonna hit pit lane on lap 67. Well, technically 66 for him as he is currently off the lead lap. Making his first start of the season here tonight at Iowa. And there's certain tracks that drivers will make their debuts at, and I kind of wondered to myself, why do you choose that particular track? Sometimes drivers pick a road course, and if they're good at road courses, that makes sense. Some drivers, they choose the short tracks, though, and while I can understand drivers, some of them really like short tracks, not really sure if you go to one that's a tire killer like Iowa, if that's such a great idea.
Well, it's also a great time, end of the season, test your competition that you could be racing with later on next season, so get a little bit of a feel at one of the tougher tracks with tire wear, like you said, that's going to be brutalizing them all race long. As our battle for the lead is just closed up dramatically for a second there. I think Santini might have had a slight issue as the gap was 1.6 seconds. It's now down to 0.3 seconds. It was down to 0.2 at one moment.
The issue he had was he caught up on the 0-1 of Matt Knight and was literally on the back bumper of that Chevrolet for about 2 corners. That slowed his speed down, allowed Logan Helton to reel him in, and as you said, the battle is now less than a car length hitting the start-finish line.
Also, I think the 99 might have grazed the wall as there's slight front right damage, not on like the front end, but just on the right side. Looks like he might have pancaked the wall a couple of laps ago.
22 of TJ Crampton has hit pit road, and we got some more takers. Evan Longacre and Carson Bowers, the 2 colleague machines, are on pit road.
Yeah, these are the guys that are for sure aiming for the 2-stop for these drivers. So they'll be thinking about also coming back in around lap 141 to 145. So later on in this race. But with our leaders and the way that they're running, I mean, they could stay out here. I mean, fuel window looks like that is the only thing that's going to be hindering these drivers. I would not be surprised, though, for some of these guys that are in must-win scenarios, like a Kevin Roy, maybe kind of stretching it out as long as you can might not be a bad decision, but you're about to be put a lap down, so that thought might be out of your system.
A couple other drivers, Roger Gregory as well as Tim Williams, who comes into this race must-win situation. They were just on pit road, and here comes Dylan Canova, heading from the 4th position.
As Jeffrey Meyer is running and now in 4th place. A great recovery after getting hit with an EOL. As up front, it's David Santini still leading the way with Logan Helton. Barry Stevens in 3rd place. It's a BJ McLeod, 1, 2, 3. And it has been a wild race so far.
Logan Helton nearly buried it into the turn 2 outside wall there at last time around. I'm not sure if he was trying to get a run on the high side to maybe get around the 88 of Van Gelder or what, but I mean, he nearly slammed that outside wall, was able to lift quickly enough, scrub off enough speed, he was able to make the corner, but that was a close call for the 2nd place running number 8.
Yeah, no, the longer the run goes on, I think the more that's going to be making it a little bit scary for Helton, who has been notorious as yellow on the back. It's going to be 39.
Canova.
And it looks like that might have been a self spin on his part.
Canova had just been on pit road.
Oh, yeah. He drifted up on entry of turn 3 into middle of 3 and 4 and rear-ended that 39 machine. And
let's not forget, these drivers, a number of them just made their first green flag pit stop of the day. You've been out there running from anywhere 60 to 70 laps as your tires have been gradually wearing down. The grip's been gradually going away. Track conditions have stayed about the same, hovering around the 65 degree to maybe 67 degree mark. You go out there with cooler, fresher tires, maybe not realizing you don't quite have the rear grip with these newer tires that you had when the tires were warm.
well, reports coming in, this 39 machine was about to head back into pit road. There were some issues on pit road that the 39 needed to get fixed, and got onto the brakes just a little bit too hard into 3 and 4 and spun that 39 car around that caused that caution. But expecting a lot of drivers to be coming into the pits. But I mean, Seth, Aaron Tyner, that 51 machine should be getting the lucky dog here, which would leave us with a total of 6 cars on the lead lap. Everyone else is 2 laps down. This is going to be rough for a lot of these drivers that are now going to spend all race long trying to dig themselves out of this hole.
Exactly. Like we had talked about before, with the possibility of drivers coming down pit road and losing the laps, they were going to guaranteed lose 2 laps under green flag conditions. Yeah, they can get one of them back here with a wave around, but they're still going to find themselves -1. And to your point, for a number of these drivers now, like must-win situation drivers in Tim Williams and Carson Bowers, I mean, this is going to be such a tough mountain for them to climb. Evan Longacre, he's going to get one of his laps back, but not going to be able to get the other one. That's a driver that's trying to hold on to the final spot in the playoffs. And Barry Stevens, his competition, is still on the lead lap.
It's going to be rough, extremely, for the fact that if you do take a wave around and you've already pitted, you now are going to be having to deal with a lot of different variations of what the tires are going to look like as drivers that are coming back into the pits. Taking wave arounds, Tim Williams back in 15th place. He was actually 3 laps down, and now it's going to be 2. Carson Bowers is going to be staying at 2 laps down, and I believe that is going to be rough for those drivers. Kevin Roy, though, will be on the lead lap, which is lucky for him, but really hasn't shown the speed to be a contender for the win at the moment, unless we get to a situation where tires are going to be important for the drivers at the end. But we've seen time and time again, these BJ McLeod guys have been set up for the long run and also set up for that just about 20 laps to go marker if they need to use a tire set or not.
I'm going to be very interested to see here because Jeffrey Meyer, we've been documenting his march from the back to the front after the pre-race EOL. He was another driver that actually stayed out prior to that caution coming out, and he is going to be restarting in the 4th position, the highest he has been since we started this race. So obviously that car has some good long run speed also, since he was able to make forward progress the entirety of that 75 lap run. So we'll see if he's got anything here for the 99 and the 8, who have appeared to be somewhat struggling, as both have brushed the wall on a couple of occasions off of turn 2.
Yeah, we've seen all of the top 3. All the BJ McLeod guys have brushed the wall at some point. Barry Stevens, I think, out of the 3 machines up front, has hit it the hardest coming through it. And when he brushed it, was in an odd place to brush it because it was in the center of the backstretch when he was trying to save the car after being loose out of 2. But this is going to be a crazy end of this race because we saw how dominant David Santini and Logan Helton were. They were staying close, bumper to bumper with one another through all those 75 laps, and they were putting everyone down a lap down. So with only 5 cars officially on the lead lap, this is going to be an interesting call for a lot of these drivers of, will they race aggressive? And if they race too aggressive, will we be seeing a ton of cautions coming out?
Drivers right now that would be in the battle for the free pass, should we see another caution: the 51 of Aaron Tyner, the 10 of Evan Longacre, and the 00 of Cole Hooper. They are the only drivers currently scored 1 lap down. Everybody else, Van Gelder, Bowers, Gregory, Crampton, Williams, and Canova, are 2 laps down. Matt Knight currently 3 laps down. Of the 15 drivers that are still running, only driver out of the race at this point is Tom Laneville. Yeah, I mean, I would have to think if your drivers back there like Bowers, like Williams, that know you're in a must-win situation, you've got to be going all out at this point, right? Because we're still in the first half of this race. You can't wait for circumstances to fall into your favor in the second half of this race. That's just waiting too late.
Yeah, it really is. You have to be moving up front, trying to get your car on the lead lap as soon as possible. And we're going to see how these guys go. Green flag out into the air for these drivers. And who will be making these runs to the front? The question also is, will we see the BJ McLeod guys try to help each other out and possibly try to get Barry Stevens a position, as it looks like Logan Helton might have brushed the wall back there on the backstretch?
He definitely did. He brushed it off of turn 2, scrubbing off a lot of speed and bringing Barry Stevens almost to his back door. Now Helton starting to pull away. You see the 51 of Aaron Tyner running 4th in line, but he's currently 6th on the board. First car 1 lap down. Driver he has to worry about is way back here, nearly a full straightaway behind him. Evan Longacre, you can bet that 10 car is going to be trying to move as quickly to the front as possible, trying to get up into that free pass spot, which Aaron Tyner currently is in.
The issue is for Evan Longacre. He's on 12-lap old tires compared to Aaron Tyner's 5-lap fresh tires that he just got on pit road. So that difference is going to be massive for these drivers the longer this run goes on.
Longacre also has to deal with traffic here, getting around his teammate Carson Bowers, and now having to reel in, I believe, that is maybe Jeffrey Meyer, I think, in the 4th position that he's trying to catch up to. Currently running nearly 3 seconds behind the 51 of Aaron Tyner, who, as you mentioned, has those fresher tires. I wanted to check in on that 38 car. There he is right now in the 4th position. And really nobody around him for the moment, as Meyer has about 1 and 3/10 seconds to make up before he gets up to these top 3.
And Carson Bowers might have had an issue, as we're looking to see, but I believe some drivers might have been hit with black flags here, making some possible moves during the restart that the admins deemed as illegal, as Carson Bowers and both Cole Hooper were deemed with a black flag, both of them having to do drive-through pit stops.
Boy, Carson Bowers, who was already 2 laps down, this could effectively, having to serve this penalty, be taking him out of the playoffs as early as lap 87, as he's going to lose at least another lap, maybe 2, and the battle for the lead is back on again between Santini and Helton. Santini just can't seem to be able to shake this 8 car.
No, he's just not able to. And also, something to keep our eyes out on for is Barry Stevens was running just as fast, or even faster than our front 2 the longer the run went on. And Barry Stevens had to, when he started the race, he qualified back in 8th place and worked his way up to 3rd. Now we'll see how he can work his way up, as well as Jeffrey Myers. Both those drivers have quick cars, but didn't start at the optimal positions.
Don't forget, the last time we were at a short track, it was the first playoff race at Bristol, and Barry Stevens went to victory lane there. So you have to wonder if here tonight he can kind of channel that short track expertise and be able to pick up a win that would lock him with his other BJ McLeod Motorsports teammates into the Final Four and next week's race at ISM. And of course, if you're watching here tonight, the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, be sure to tune in tomorrow night as well. We're going to be back here at Iowa, where we determine the Final Four for the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series. And you talked, Sam, about the horsepower these drivers have going into the corners here tonight. They're going to have even more in those Cup cars tomorrow evening. So, we're seeing some great battling all the way through the field here this evening. Tomorrow night's going to be just as good, I think.
No, it's going to be great tomorrow night. Halloween night. You never know what's going to happen if we start seeing a full moon come out, as well, as these drivers are going to be over just trying to get the best finishes they can. We've seen Boyd Hogan just dominate in that series, as a pass for the lead underway is Logan Helton side by side, just not able to clear the 99 of Santini. But tomorrow night, it's going to be a fun race for sure. A lot of drivers in must-win scenarios, and a lot of those drivers that are in must-win scenarios have been quick and have almost had chances to win races.
Will it be trick or treat? We've also got another event that FRN is going to be broadcasting tomorrow as well. Over on the NR side, it's the 6th annual NSRA Holodega special event, and that'll be taking place earlier on tomorrow afternoon. So kind of a Halloween double feature for you guys in tomorrow's festivities as Helton continues to hound the back bumper of David Santini. I think the problem for Logan Helton right now, we've already seen it with him nearly brushing the wall off the corner, how loose that car is. He wants to make the pass on the inside line, but when he gets to corner exit, the back end wants to skate out from underneath him, so he's not able to get the straightaway speed he needs to get alongside the 99.
Yeah, and really that's the main thing is when you're stuck on the inside, you really have to get the good run off either the front stretch or the back stretch entering these corners. But Helton just continues to wiggle out of these corners, which is costing him that really the good exit speed that could be giving him these entries that could be making him have the slide job in the passes.
Remember how we saw earlier the hands of Tim Williams, how nice and steady they were. Look at how the 8 car looking inside here at Logan Helton, how it's left, right, trying to make sure that thing doesn't spin. That was a full right there coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, he continues to just trying to shake and shimmy that thing to keep it straight. As another chance for a pass here through 3 and 4, and like always, he just bogs down through the center, and just because he just doesn't have enough speed on entry to try to really sling it around the 99, that he's losing all that speed, and staying side by side isn't the best for the 8 because that momentum is all going to the 99.
I'm a little worried as well with what we just saw there with Helton doing a lot of counter steering. We talked here tonight already about those rear tires wearing down and not having the grip off the corner. With that left-right movement, that's the front tires that are going back and forth, and I would think that's going to scrub a lot of rubber off of those tires.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's going to be hurting that front right a lot by him having to do all this scrubbing back and forth as he is keeping it stable for now. And at the moment, Logan Helton, that's a great run through 3. Can he move up through 4? And he does, but here comes that crossover move.
Oh, he got loose as well, so that opens the door for Santini with momentum to get to the inside. Helton tries to pinch him down, but has to give the spot up. No, he's back alongside, nearly contact between the two.
And these teammates are racing so aggressive right now, but they can race as hard as they want right now because they know they're locked into next week for the championship race. It's more of, hey, who's going to have the momentum and how hard can we race right now?
The mentality for these two of bring home the trophy or bring home the steering wheel. Everybody else has to worry about how they're going to make it into that Final Four. These two drivers are already there as, man, a huge slide for David Santini off of turn 2. And that's going to allow Logan Helton to open up the distance by a little more than 4/10. Santini drives it deep into 3.
And Santini's going to try to figure out how he can continue this momentum forward. After being passed, take a breather, try to get your momentum right and your rhythm set. As really, short track racing is all about getting into a rhythm. As we're coming to halfway marker here, I mean, just like that set in a blink of an eye, we're already halfway.
We're seeing some great battling for the lead, and we're only halfway through, so we've still got another 100 laps to go through here as Helton now opens up the distance between himself and Santini. And there's just so many storylines with still 100 laps to go. These two continuing to battle each other. Barry Stevens about to take second.
Santini just goes way too high on the entry, and I don't know if that was a choice for him to go that high or if something might have broke on his car because it looked like he never even tried to turn.
Yeah, that car, at first it looked like he was still carrying speed, but then you just saw the huge difference between him and the 70. I think maybe he might have gotten out of the groove as it looks like he's been able to get himself back into a rhythm, but a costly mistake for David Santini, one we rarely see him make, and now Stevens, who at the moment I believe would be in a must-win situation based on the fact that Longacre is running in 7th. Currently, Stevens running about a 1.5 seconds behind his teammate Logan Helton.
Yeah, Barry Stevens, due to him running in 2nd place, he'll be needing Longacre to finish in 8th place if they finish where they are right now. It's not looking good for Barry Stevens because Longacre has just been quick. He's the first car 1 lap down. The car that is 2 laps down is going to be Tim Williams, and there's a pretty good gap between both those drivers at the moment. But something I was thinking about while we were seeing Santini and Helton battling so hard back and forth for the lead there is, are those teammates trying to wear and tear and burn their tires down, showing they've got pace, but also wearing it down so that Barry Stevens could come up and pass both of them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I mean, if they're trying to orchestrate something like that, then maybe that is the plan, but I've heard so many times when there are scenarios like that, I've talked with different drivers and I've said, are you going to work to try and get your teammate there into, the Final Four with you or into the playoffs with you, whichever the case may be. And they say, if we have the possibility of being able to do that, then yeah. But we all, at the end of the day, want to go out there and win this race.
Cole Hooper has parked it and is done for the day in the 0-0 that just did not start off on the right side of things. His whole entire right side scraped off and dented in after clobbering the wall multiple times. 14 cars still out on track. And this is looking very precarious as now we're starting to see a battle here for 6th place with Longacre trying to become the first car one lap down.
It's a very important battle as well because barring a caution coming out, this could be the battle of who would get the lucky dog. And Evan Longacre, of course, trying to manage the gap between himself and Barry Stevens in terms of trying to get that 4th and final playoff position. And, as we're saying, if there is some kind of orchestration maybe going on between the BJ McLeod teammates of Helton, Stevens, and Santini, then Longacre has to make sure that he gets himself back on the lead lap so that way he can foil those plans.
Yeah, right now Longacre is trying to do the best he can at the moment and looking around at the rest of the drivers and where they're at. This is looking very good for the drivers already inside of our top 4 entering this race. We already knew David Santini, Logan Helton locked into this thing. Jeffrey Meyer had a good advantage coming in with 9 points, and then also you have Evan Longacre with 6 points of being a little bit of a buffer between himself and Barry Stevens. Stevens was the only one who could point his way in, and it looks like he might be putting himself into a must-win scenario, but here comes David Santini.
Longacre is not quite going to complete the pass there on Tyner out of turn 2. Looks like now he'll get the spot out of turn 4 as we jump back up to that battle for 2nd. And I'm going to throw a little bit of a question into your mind here, Sam, because this track, the way that it's built, the way that the length is and everything, it was fashioned after Richmond. We went back green with 120 laps to go, and I remember you and I calling a race at Richmond where a driver in the Xfinity car was able to go 125 laps on tires and fuel. With that being said, do we have anybody here like Stevens or maybe even Kevin Roy back there, last car on the lead lap in 5th, that might think about doing something like that? Maybe not even come to pit road for the remainder of this race.
Well, based off the lap times that we're seeing right now, Kevin Roy as well as Jeffrey Meyer have really backed it off compared to what our leaders are putting down. And they're running about 3 to 2/10 slower than what our leaders are. And if anything, they could be playing that long game of save your fuel and try to make it to the end. And yeah, like we saw that at Richmond. This is Iowa. Iowa is slightly smaller than Richmond, I believe. So there's a possible chance here that these drivers could make it to the end with where that caution came out.
Gonna have to follow that as we've only worked one caution here tonight, and really that caution only came out because a driver, and that was Dylan Canova, had to come back down pit road, got loose trying to get himself down from the progressive banking onto the apron to make pit road entry. Other than that, we have been clean and green, and right now Logan Helton trying to pick up what would be his league-tying 8th win of the season, tying him with David Santini, and would have these guys even going into that championship battle at ISM in terms of the number in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, for the longest time, when we started broadcasting the Rapid Fire National Series, we thought Santini was the dominant car. Logan Helton did show speed, but both these cars were quick, but Santini was the one that kept on winning and winning. And then June after June, we started seeing other drivers popping up, getting wins. Logan Helton was up there more. We started seeing TJ Crampton and others coming in and taking some wins away. And recently, Santini's been the guy, and he's really started hitting his mark, getting these wins here at the right times. But with this win that Logan Helton could get here, the momentum could swing to his way going into ISM.
Saw the 2nd and 3rd making their way around the number 22 of TJ Crampton, sporting the pink here tonight in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And just a final reminder here as we close into the end of October, you can see that we have continued during this month to sport the pink on our FRN ticker. Also with a fundraiser over at the Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation. If you'd like to head on over there and contribute make a donation to a great cause. The link is down in the description of this broadcast. The 31st, tomorrow, will be the final day that we run that fundraiser. So anything that you could donate would certainly be appreciated. It's a great cause, and right now we're trying to see if this battle for second place, if it's going to go anywhere, because Santini's been there on the back bumper of Barry Stevens, but really hasn't been able to put up a challenge. I don't know if it's because they keep encountering slower traffic, and that hinders him being able to size up the 78, or as we saw him have that problem up in turns 1 and 2, if maybe it's something that really worn his tires down, not allowing him to challenge for second.
Well, Santini's been running that third lane, and it's kind of confused me in a way, but we've seen this in other leagues where drivers run very odd high-line grooves, and then later on in the race, they come back to that spot where they've already put the rubber down, and with fresher tires, they really make that outside line work a lot better. So maybe it's due to the fact Santini's feeling like we could have some late cautions and trying to set himself up for that third lane if needed later on, but for right now, it seems like he's just content running where he's at, not really feeling like he needs to really put any pressure, but it might be pressuring Stevens as he's been losing time. That gap from our leader went from 2.5 seconds before this battle started, and since then they've lost about a half second, if not more, on our leader.
Talked about the two drivers, Santini and Helton, already locked in. We'll give you an update here with 80 laps to go, where the other 6 drivers that are trying to either point or win their way into the final 4 are running. Jeffrey Meyer, third in points, is right now slotted in the 4th position. Evan Longacre, who's now the first car 1 lap down, he is in 6th. Barry Stevens, we're looking at right now, in the 2nd position. Tim Williams, currently 2 laps down in 8th. Carson Bowers is 4 laps down in the 12th position, and Kevin Roy still on the lead lap, last car in the lead lap. He's currently in the 5th position. That's the way they run. As things stand at the moment, it would be Santini, Helton, Meyer, and Longacre. That would be your final 4 going into ISM Raceway.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, this is kind of giving me a little bit of deja vu of what a race that we got to see earlier on this week. As look, Evan Longacre gets a little out of shape in that 10 machine out of 2. But on Tuesday, we were having the races for the 87 Vintage Hijinks Company clothing line. Those guys were having their championship race, and it came down to the fact that our championship winner, Christopher Morris Jr., he was a lap down, or just outside of a lap down, and the bubble to where he needed to be outside of, they were already a lap down, so he had a clean bubble where it didn't matter if he got any contact or so. As long as he stayed on the lead lap, he was good to win that championship. And right now, Evan Longacre, even if he was last of the cars that are 1 lap down, he would still be in a prime position to be moving on to the next round.
Yeah, the worst he could be right now would be the 7th position. And he needs to, as you said, with Barry Stevens riding in the 2nd spot right now, he would have to be down around 9th place for Stevens to take the playoff spot away from the 10 machine. Right now, this is still the best battle on the racetrack, about 3/10 separation from Stevens back to Santini. Everybody else really spread out for the moment, and I'm still looking at those lap times back there of Jeffrey Meyer and Kevin Roy. You talked about anywhere from 3 to 4 tenths slower than the top 3. It has continued to remain that these last 20 laps or so.
Yeah, and really looking at the lap times that these drivers have been putting down, our top 3 running very similar lap times. It's not like Logan Helton's blowing away in speed. If anything, Barry Stevens might be just a couple of hundredths faster than Helton, but that's not enough to really cut into this almost 3.5 second gap between 1st and 2nd.
Jeffrey Meyer right now running in the 4th position, currently 5.5 seconds back. Make that 9.2 seconds back, I should say, from race leader Logan Helton. And Logan's actually been doing a good job since taking the race lead of making his way through traffic. He's now opened it up over 3 seconds over his other teammates, Barry Stevens and David Santini. But we saw earlier on in this race that Helton was one of the drivers up in the top 3 that kept brushing the wall the most. I have to wonder if maybe being in dirty air behind the 99 contributed to that, because he looks like he's a lot steadier coming off the corner. Now, maybe he was able to make an adjustment for that on that pit stop.
Yeah, it might have been an adjustment on pit stop as pass for 2nd place has been made. I think David Santini was just waiting for the call of clean driving. There's no traffic ahead. Finally making this pass by Barry Stevens almost easily. getting by, as now we'll see if this 99 car can pick up the pace and try to run down the 8 machine, as he just ran that last lap about a tenth faster than Logan Helton. David Santini is coming, and he's going to be trying to pull Barry Stevens along.
David Santini, let's see how long it's going to take for him to make up 3.5 seconds. That last time by, about 5/100ths faster than Logan Helton, and I don't think there's any traffic between the top two either. I think there's just clean racetracks, so this is going to be interesting. It's all going to come down now pretty much to who's able to lay down the best qualifying lap times, if you will. Who's got the cleanest and the fastest laps consistently.
Coming down pit road, I'm not sure if this is a scheduled stop, but the 51 of Aaron Tyner coming into the pits and was one of the cars one lap down, and now leaving that to Evan Longacre, the only car one lap down. So if a caution comes out, that 10 machine will be the lucky dog as long as he's not involved in the wreck. But, interesting to see with us coming to about 69 laps to go or so for these drivers coming into the pits. This is an interesting time.
I think this is a regularly scheduled stop for the 51 because he was one of a number of drivers that actually did take the wave around. So he would have been on about 66 lap old tires, I think, here. Closing in about 70 laps on that run. So, yeah, this looks like it'd be a regularly scheduled stop for him. Come down, get the fresh rubber, get back out there. He returns to the track in the 8th position, came down in 6th. So didn't lose a lot in terms of positions, but certainly lost a lot in terms of laps. He now finds himself -3 to the race leader.
Carson Bowers, all season long, that 16 machine had a lot of highs, had a lot of lows, and it was a really up and down season for him. His championship hopes are now snuffed out. 16 cars officially parked it. Carson Bowers had a great season, and now next week just going to be looking for a great finish.
8 top 5s, 13 top 10s for Carson Bowers. Looks like he will not be advancing into the final 4. He's bringing that Colleague Racing Chevrolet into the garage area, joining Cole Hooper and Tom Laneville. As we watch Logan Helton continue to work his way around the track, he just moments ago put Tim Williams another lap down, as Williams now -3. And it's almost looking like right now Tim Williams may be another driver, even though he's out there on the track, that very well could be another driver added to the list that will not be moving up to that championship battle at ISM.
Yeah, Tim Williams was in a must-win scenario, and at this point, he's asked for a total of 4 cautions that he won't be involved in, and that is a lot of cautions he's looking for to try to get himself even back on the lead lap, let alone try anything else. But this is rough looking for the 19 machine, and I think you're right. I think this could be the end of his chances for battling for that final 4.
Well, Tim Williams was 3rd place finisher the first time we were here at Iowa, but this short track has not been kind to him here tonight, as he currently is running in the 7th position, but as we said, 3 laps down to the race leader. And, we were talking about that 3.5 second interval between Logan Helton and David Santini. Now, while it hasn't been cut down tremendously, Santini, the last 10 laps or so, has been able to cut it down by about 7/10, and that time around, actually, it just opened up again. I'm not sure what just happened. Well, it looks like he's gaining the time back, so maybe it was a scoring error there, but for a brief moment, he was down to about 2.8, and then it jumped up to 3 seconds. He's now got it back down to 2.8 again, that 99 machine.
Yeah, David Santini is starting to close up to lap traffic, which might bring up that dirty air as he's coming up to Tim Williams and others in front. And, David Santini, he's showing that he's got the pace, but as well, Logan Helton, he's showing, hey, I might be backing off, but I'm still there. Another couple of cars coming into the pits. You've got Roger Gregory, TJ Crampton coming in, as well as Matt Knight. So a lot of drivers that were already 3 laps down coming in and trying to do their last service of the race.
Matthew Van Gelder in the 88 was also just on pit road, so more than likely this is their final stop of the day. But as we said, there might be some drivers that aren't even planning on coming to pit road here before the checkered flag waves, namely Jeffrey Meyer and maybe Kevin Roy back there. I mean, can you imagine if Kevin Roy is able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, the rest of the way on tires, pulls out a victory? He came into tonight's race 8th of the 8 playoff contenders. I mean, it would almost kind of be like a Kurt Busch from earlier on this season in the NASCAR Cup Series, from 8th up to 1st. And I mean, Kevin Roy, who knows? He could end up pulling a rabbit out of a hat here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Roy, he's going to be trying to do what Evan Longacre tried to do at the start of the round of 8, which that was at Kansas. That was stay out and try to stretch the fuel and tires as long as it could. But it was Logan Helton that pitted with about 14 laps to go during that race, who then carried on and somehow on the last lap with a half a track left was able to make that pass. But this is when things get a little interesting. We've got drivers on fresh tires and cars on older tires, and there's going to be the possible chance our leader right now, Logan Helton, he's under pressure by lap cars that just pitted. Also want to say that I misspoke. Matt Knight did not pit just yet. That was Van Golder that came in. So that 88 machine was the one that I initially saw. Matt Knight still has not pitted. He's been out there for 61 laps on those tires.
19 of Tim Williams was just on pit lane for his final stop of the day, so he'll lose another lap here, falling to -4. Logan Helton continuing to show the way here. Now holds 2.5 seconds back to David Santini. Harry Stevens right now in 3rd, Jeffrey Meyer in 4th, Kevin Roy currently in the 5th position. The only car 1 lap down is Evan Longacre, currently in 6th. And those are really the only other drivers up here at the front of the field that it's questionable on whether or not they're going to be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel or not. They have all not been to pit road since we ended up having our only caution, which was back on lap 75.
Yeah, I mean, just based off the fact of drivers that have backed off. I mean, Jeffrey Meyer was running just as fast as our leaders were on that first stint that we were on. He was actually running faster than them, and he had to start and pass a ton of other machines while our front 2 were just running front 1 and 2 that whole entire first stint. Now we're seeing Jeffrey Meyer run just as fast as Kevin Roy, and now our leaders have backed off their pace as they're also dealing with lap traffic. But Jeffrey Meyer and Kevin Roy running very similar lap times, being about, again, a 10th to about 3/10 off what our leaders have been. So I'm assuming that they're trying to go for that run of can they save fuel to the end, which if Kevin Roy somehow wins this race, that's going to kick Evan Longacre out of here. Jeffrey Meyer wins. It just confirms that he'll be coming in and believe where cars are running. Evan Longacre as well would make it into our final 4.
So right now, Evan Longacre, best scenario for him is to have 1st, 2nd, or 4th go to victory lane. But if Stevens in 3rd or Roy in 5th, has Helton with a near moment to get off of 2, if either Stevens or Roy go to victory lane, that would be either one of them in and Longacre out. And it's got to be such a frustrating position for Evan Longacre because there's nothing he can do about it right now. He's the only car trapped 1 lap down. He can't get up there and battle with these guys for track position.
No, he really can, and he's got to just continue and wait. If Longacre can just wait for the drivers to, someone in the back to cause a caution, something to happen up front. But that is a lot of waiting to go on, as looks like a battle for 10th place just happened, as continues to happen around 2nd place of David Santini. That's going to be Tim Williams and TJ Crampton. Both these drivers have already pitted, and they're driving around the driver of David Santini, who has not pitted yet, as they're all on top of one another.
Where does Santini go? I mean, he's running in 2nd, but he's right now running the pace of a lap machine to the 2 drivers behind him. He'll move way up the track, give them the 2 lower lanes as Williams and Crampton continue to battle for that 10th position, now bypassing the 99. And we talked about the fact with Helton and Santini already locked into the final 4, how this race is really all about momentum for them going into that championship battle next week. Does it surprise you that we don't see either one of them maybe backing their pace off, trying to see if they can make it the rest of the way on fuel? Because, you know, we don't know. We don't know if Helton and Santini might be short. We don't even know if Jeffrey Meyer or Kevin Roy can make it the entire rest of the way. But if it is possible, since we went back green, to make it to the checkered flag, is it surprising you that we haven't seen these 2 race leaders pace back down just the least little bit to assure that they would make it on fuel to try and capture another checkered flag?
No, because I think they're in the mindset of we can just make it, and it's not we have to slow down. I think they just feel like they are good to the end, and they're going to make it all the way to the end. As I'm also watching this battle here for 8th place, as this is some close racing action. as both these drivers 4 laps down of the 88 and the 12.
Roger Gregory there in that 12 machine now working up into the top 10. Very slow start to his day, and I was really surprised to see he was one of the drivers struggling, because the first time we were here at Iowa, he finished in 6th. Right now, trying to hunt down the 88 of Gelder for 8th place. Currently the highest running of the 2 Penske Fords in the field here tonight, as TJ Crampton, his teammate, had some early issues with that spin-off of turn 2 that didn't bring out a caution. Fell multiple laps down early and really hasn't been able to recover. Right now, TJ in the 11th position.
Now, Seth, I was trying to do some quick math. If these drivers are backing down their pace so much, they might be able to pull out a couple of laps. But if I think my calculations might be wrong, but I think these drivers could be about 10 laps short, and that's what we're seeing Jeffrey Meyer, Kevin Roy just back off. But I mean, they're running. Jeffrey Meyer's just been staying consistently just backed off. I mean, he has not been pushing that 38 machine at all, but still staying on the lead lap. You can't back it down to where you're a lap down, because what if a caution comes out? But you still need to be pushing as hard as you can of some sort to make sure you stay on the lead lap.
Not sure if Matt Knight just went way up the track there last time through 1 and 2 or not, but his telemetry went down quickly. I jumped back to him because I thought maybe he was spinning out or something, but apparently that was not the case. Might have been letting a faster car on by. But yeah, the big problem for us here, Sam, is when that caution came out, a number of the drivers that had already been to pit road were drivers that looked like they were going to split this race into thirds. We never really got a clear idea of just how far these drivers really can go on fuel.
Well, the driver that's going to give us the best marker, that's going to be Evan Longacre, and he's been out there for 35 laps. And what helped this 10 machine and the other drivers is having those pace laps. You really got to back down, save fuel during that time, so these drivers possibly can go even further than what any of the numbers were telling us originally. So right now, it's looking good that everyone can make it, but Evan Longacre is our control car to see how far can you make it, as he's about 5 laps. He's been out there when he came into the pits. That was 5 laps before the rest of the field of our front runners came in.
And of course, Evan Longacre ended up coming down under green flag conditions about 6 laps prior to the caution flag coming out. So that's why there's that 6 laps difference between himself and the front runners. Battle for the 8th position continues on there between Matthew Van Gelder and Roger Williams. They're starting to catch up to a bit of traffic here. That's Aaron Tyner in the 51. Tyner, the only car 2 laps down in 7th. So you got 7th, 8th, and 9th all lined up here. However, the 88 and the 12 are the only 2 on the same lap.
Yeah, right now they're still going to be trying to battle out as hard as they can right now between those 2 drivers. Also want to give some clarification was given about TJ Crampton. Ashley was told that he's actually going to be driving for Hattori Racing Enterprise next season. So TJ Crampton, a driver sought by a lot of different teams, and landing on Hattori.
It'll be interesting to see where a number of these drivers end up next season. Will they be with the same team they were with here this year, or will they be with an entirely different team? We've seen a lot of swapping around of drivers from different teams here this season. A lot of drivers here tonight finishing out the year in a ride that had originally been started with another driver. Looking back here at the 39 of Dylan Canova. Canova right now trying to finish out the year for RSS Racing. That ride started out the season with Greg Newsom, but due to some scheduling issues, Newsom had to no longer be in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, moved up to the Cup Series, and now we've got a different driver there in that team. A number of other drivers as well. I believe Cole Hooper in that 00 finishing out the season. We have Brendan Burcroft. I think he went to victory lane twice in that 00 this season for Stewart Haas Racing, if I recall correctly. So, going to be interesting to see how the silly season goes between this season and next.
And just like that, the 88 car able to get by Roger Gregory as Gregory gets into the outside wall off of turn number 4. But, Seth, I mean, like we stated, these drivers going to be shuffling up and down throughout the season as Logan Helton looks like he might have caught lap traffic at a weird spot, or he got a little bit loose as he's lost a lot of time. That gap between first and second, less than a second itself, almost less than a half a second.
I was just about to say, race lead alert. I think the big issue right now, Logan Helton starting to feel those tires wearing down. That car has looked very unsteady through the center of the corner off for the last couple of laps. You can see right there how he's almost into a rear wheel spin, or slide rather, off of turn 2. Those rear tires are wearing away to nothing. He's not getting the grip, and he's coming to pit road.
Yeah, he has to come in. I mean, those tires were gone completely for that driver, as well as the 99 of Santini coming in. But man, was that a hard race for both those drivers that were pushing it as hard as they could. Now the question is, these drivers were pushing it as hard as they could at the moment. Jeffrey Meyer, Kevin Roy, both of them have been backing off on their pace. Can they make it to the end?
All three of the BJ McLeod Motorsports cars were on pit road. Helton and Stevens came down one lap after their teammate David Santini. As Meyer and Roy, they're going to go out to the front. Logan Helton is still sitting in his pit stall, now leaving. We're going to have to see what the gap is going to be between Jeffrey Meyer, Kevin Roy, and Logan Helton, because Helton's going to have the fresher tires. Can Meyer or Roy hold him off for what's going to be more than 30 laps?
It's about a second and a half of... looks like it's the difference between their best lap time to what our leaders are running. About a second and a half. It's going to be interesting to see as the run continues on. Can Jeffrey Meyer and Kevin Roy stay out there as long as possible? Did they save enough?
And this pit stop taking place, Barry Stevens has fallen a lap down. You see him right there in the 78. He will probably be able to get around the 38 and get his lap back. Logan Helton and Santini were so far ahead, they were able to stay on the lap, and Meyer is going to pit.
Meyer comes in. Kevin Roy, now he's going to be trying to get the bonus point, but with how many drivers are still left on track, he still is in a must-win scenario for this Ford machine. Does he stay out, though, as Helton right now is 17 and a half seconds, as that is dropping drastically every lap. And I don't think, I mean, with how many laps are left in this race, Helton can still catch down to this 4 car if he tries to stay out the whole entire way.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt that Logan Helton can reel this 4 car in, and I'm a little bit worried if Jeffrey Meyer came into the pits that more than likely this 4 car will not be able to make it on fuel without losing the race lead to Logan Helton, who has the fresher tires. I mean, you know, we talk about a 6 to 10 lap difference. There is a difference here of about almost 90 laps, and Roy is not going to make it to pit road. He tried to come in, he overshot, and that is his playoff hopes gone right there.
Kevin Roy is done. I mean, unless the caution comes out.
Jeffrey Meyer in the 38 has looped it off of 2.
Jeffrey Meyer.
Sorry, that's 4.
Loops it. I don't think he hit anything, though. I think he just looped it around.
And I think Meyer was in the free pass position. So with bringing out this caution, he more than likely won't get the lucky dog. What a timely caution for Kevin Roy, because he's on pit road when the caution came out. He should be able to get service here and remain on the lead lap.
I'm waiting to hear from the admins if this is going to be okay for for Kevin Roy to come in when that caution came out, because it was very close to when pit entry was about to get closed because of the yellow flag coming out. But we're going to have to wait and see if Kevin Roy gets an EOL, which if he does, that takes away any chances this 4 car had of trying to battle for a win here. But Seth, this is wild to see how this race came down, because literally if Kevin Roy had been staying out, he could have left so many other cars multiple laps down. Jeffrey Meyer at the moment is 1 lap down. And well,
he could have kept them a lap down. That's true.
Evan Longacre almost became the first car 1 lap down.
I think Aaron Tyner is actually getting the free pass here.
Yeah.
I don't think much changed in whether Kevin Roy would have stayed out or whether he would have come to pit road. because Barry Stevens was able to get his lap back from when Jeffrey Meyer came to pit road, and Logan Helt and David Santini, after their pit stops, were still on the lead lap anyway. When we go back green, we're going to have Kevin Roy and 4 others on the lead lap, so I think whether he stayed out or whether he came to pit road, I think that the running order and the drivers on the lead lap would have remained exactly the way they are. The only difference, I think, would have been that Kevin Roy might have had a little bit fresher tires than Helton, Santini, and Stevens than he does right now. Right now, he's got 5-lap fresher tires. He probably would have had about 6 or 7 with staying out, coming to pit road when pits were open here under this yellow.
And wait and see. But right now, Kevin Roy is going to have the freshest tires of our front 4. Tyner right now in the pits getting service done for the 51. Jeffrey Meyer as well was hoping to be able to stay out and seeing our front 3 come to the pits, but they did not. And another driver we can add to the list of cars that parked it, Matt Knight, is done.
Sam, this is going to be fun because the last 2 starts we've had, the initial start of this race and the first restart back around the latter portion of the first half of this race, we saw Logan Helton and David Santini hold nothing back. They left everything on the table, battling for the race lead. We're going to be going back green with less than 25 laps to go. They will restart first and second yet again. And I almost wonder if the driver in the catbird seat right now might be that third-place restarter, the 78 of Barry Stevens.
Well, we know our front 3 are on the same lap of tires. And right now, looking back, Aaron Tyner is going to be on the freshest of tires on the lead lap. That 51 machine is going to be starting at the end of the line, I believe, due to the fact of being in that lucky dog position. So he's got to now figure out how to drive through the rest of the field to get up front and go for a win possibly, but he is not a playoff driver. Right now, as Jeffrey Meyer getting hit with an EOL for that 38 machine, the Evan Longacre, he is cheering on right now Logan Helton, David Santini to win this race, or even Aaron Tyner. He cannot see Barry Stevens or Kevin Roy win this thing, or he is out of the Final 4.
Meyer is 6th, Longacre 7th. That puts both Stevens and Roy 3rd and 4th in must-win situations. We've only worked 2 cautions here tonight. Both cautions have been for an RSS racing car spinning out of turn 4. The first time it was Canova. This time it was Jeffrey Meyer. Will we go green to the end as we've had 2 very long green flag runs tonight at Iowa? Or has this not been our final yellow flag of the night? We know things are certainly going to get more aggressive here as we'll be closing in on 20 laps to go in the penultimate race of the season.
And when we go green again, it is going to be 24 laps to go for these drivers. Logan Helton, David Santini, they are locked in to the Final 4 and going to be battling for that championship next week. The question is it going to be Jeffrey Meyer, who looks like he's going to be locked in, but is Evan Longacre going to get kicked out for Kevin Roy or Barry Stevens? Only time is going to tell as the pace car pulls off and the green flag about to be waved.
3 Toyotas, 2 Chevrolets, the lone machines on the lead lap as Helton gets us back under the green, opens up a pretty good gap back to David Santini. We'll see if Santini can close the gap or if he's going to be left to battle with Stevens for second place. Look like it's going to be the latter as Santini way up there off of turn 2.
And that's the same issue that we saw him earlier. But look out for that 4 machine. Kevin Roy's on much fresher tires than the other drivers. He's going to be trying to push, and he pushed Barry Stevens out of the way. Here comes Kevin Roy.
This could be the most aggressive we've seen that entry.
Season. Barry Stevens spins around, hit by the 39. Oh, no.
He kept it straight. Canova got into the back of him, but he kept it straight. No caution.
Jeffrey Meyer makes contact with Stevens. And that's going to be hurting the 38 machine, but he's still the only car 1 lap down. We stay green. Logan Helton pulling away. It's the battle now for second place. It's still between the 4 and the 99.
Everyone from second place on back had to check up to avoid getting involved in that wreck with the 78 spinning in the middle of turn 1. That's allowed Logan Helton to open up nearly a 9/10 of a second gap. Santini clearing the lap machine of Evan Longacre now. He can set his sights back on his teammate. 21 to go.
Tim Williams and Evan Longacre both trying to get past our leaders, get at least one lap back the hard way, and then hoping for a quick caution, but it's not looking good for them for the caution to come out. It's really just the battle between the two drivers that are already locked in. Kevin Roy, 3.5 seconds back. That little contact with Barry Stevens turns out to be costly for the 4 machine and also for the 78.
Right now, about 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds now back from the race leader, and maybe about to be reeled in for that third position by Aaron Tyner. What a save by Barry Stevens, though, not only having the 4 into his left rear quarter panel, but then getting punted into the back by the 39 of Canova while nearly sideways. How that car did not go around, I don't know, but the tough break for Barry Stevens right now is that dropped him back to the 5th position, almost 6 seconds back from the lead, and with the laps dwindling down, his playoff hopes continue to dwindle away also.
Yeah, asking for a caution is really what the 78 and the 4 are asking for another reset possibly, get fresh tires, and try to battle it out with our front 2, but Logan Helton, David Santini, they've been the class act all season long, and they continue to be that as they start trying to pull away from the lap cars of the 19 and the 10 that both are on very fresh tires compared to our leaders, and they are struggling to even keep up.
Now, one thing that I want to point out that actually goes against what we said about 25 laps ago, where Evan Longacre was kind of trapped, couldn't do anything. Take a look at our running order right now. You've got Helton out in front, Santini behind him, but then right behind him, the third car in line, or actually the fourth car in line, I should say, behind Tim Williams, is Evan Longacre. Who are some of the drivers behind him? Kevin Roy and Barry Stevens. If they get up here, then Evan Longacre has the option of being able to hold these guys up, build the gap between them and the 2 BJ McLeod machines to keep his hopes alive of one of those 2 winning and advancing into the Final 4.
If we stay green, it's looking like Longacre's in, because I don't see Roy or Barry Stevens having any type of a run to try to catch up. Roy has tried to trim it down, but it's still 3.5 seconds back. He's not gained anything to the driver in front of David Santini. It's 4.2 seconds for Kevin Roy to our leader. It's just gaining more and more every lap at this point, as that is slight advantage that Kevin Roy had on his tires. It looks like it's gone.
Gap is now 0.8 of a second between Logan Helton and David Santini, and for a brief moment, it was looking like Santini was closing in. I almost wonder if Santini might have had to have gotten hard on the brakes to avoid getting into his teammate Barry Stevens when Stevens had his moment over in turn 1, and that might have overcooked those front tires, not giving Santini quite the grip he had on the long run that we saw earlier on in this race.
I mean, a caution is still looming as I'm watching this battle right now between 9th and 10th place, as we've got, that's between, for battle for 10th place, we've got TJ Crampton and also the 88 machine. They've got Barry Stevens there, as well as Jeffrey Meyer, and Jeffrey Meyer almost spun Barry Stevens around, as he's been really getting on the back bumper of the 78 machine almost every corner.
Jeffrey Meyer with about 7 lap fresher tires than Barry Stevens in the 78 car. But for Jeffrey Meyer, I think right now you don't want to cause a caution, because we already saw him bring out the yellow the last time. He was in position to get the free pass at the moment, but because he was the one that brought the caution out, the lucky dog instead went to the 51. If he were to get to the 78 and cause a caution, he'd still be trapped a lap down.
Yeah, still would be trapped, and still, I mean, he's still in a good spot right now. Jeffrey Meyer right now, all he needs to do is finish within the top 11, and he'll be locked into the next round, which he's the first car 1 lap down. He would then have to be put 3 laps down to even have a possibility of being back in 11th place. So Jeffrey Meyer feeling good. Evan Longacre, though, if Barry Stevens was in 2nd place, Evan Longacre would be feeling a little bit intense, but Logan Helton up front, that 8 machine, he continues to try to pull away. That lead was up to a second at one point.
We have run 5 playoff races so far. The entire round of 12 was swept by BJ McLeod Motorsports drivers. And if Helton can close the deal here tonight, the entire round of 8 will be swept by the team, as Helton looking for career win number 8 For the 8 machine, he's only got 8.5 more circuits to go. The gap has dwindled a little bit between himself and David Santini, but the question is, does Santini have enough time?
Santini is certainly trying his best at the moment, and the question is Logan Helton, does he start to feel loose at all? That was the thing that was making him lose a lot of time once he was 40 to 50 laps on his tires. We've only been on these tires for about 26 laps, and the real thing is that Helton's pretty good from about 20 to about lap 35 on his tires, that's the window to the end of the race. He usually doesn't get very loose around that window that we've seen all race long, and that's why he's been able to keep the gap either similar, it hasn't really changed much, or he continues to gap out the 99.
Down the back straightaway for Logan Helton. The gap has opened now to a full second. Battle continues to be back in this area around the 10th position. TJ Crampton. Some connection issues right in the middle of a cluster of cars with Dylan Canova and Matthew Van Gelder in the vicinity. Van Gelder looking to make a pass for what would be 10th on the 22. Canova is a lap behind these two drivers, even though he was able to pass the both of them.
Yeah, and they've been running very close, these 3 machines of Crampton, Van Gelder, as well as Canova. These 3 cars, there's been moments where I thought maybe Canova's tires would have him drifting up into these other machines, but he's been holding strong on that inside line and just looking good, as we are now 5 laps to go. And that battle for the lead, it's almost gone. The gap is now up to 1.3, almost 1.4 seconds between the 8 and the 99. Logan Helton's looking good to get another win here in the playoffs.
Unless a caution comes out or something crazy happens, right now Santini in second, and he's probably not going to win this race. But man, he gave it a heck of a shot there. We saw him maybe the most aggressive we've seen all season with that 3-wide move into turn 1. Kevin Roy right now is in position to finish tonight in the 3rd spot, which would be his best finish of the season by far. I mean, you gotta tip your hat to this guy because he knew the scenario coming in. He knew it was a must-win situation. He played his strategy perfectly in terms of when the cautions fell to keep himself on the lead lap, and he saw a shot there into turn 1 to maybe be able to take this checkered flag. He went for it, and while he may not be advancing to the Final Four, certainly going to be leaving here tonight at Iowa with a very good finish.
And right now the battle for 4th place is Aaron Tyner under fire by the 78 of Barry Stevens as we're coming up to the closing laps here of this race. As that's a battle for 4th place, but it's not going to help Barry Stevens at all, who is in a must-win scenario with where drivers were running up. Logan Helton coming to the white flag. That 8 machine looking good to see the checker flag get the win here.
Talked about the fact that it was David Santini during the regular season, but once the playoffs began, all of a sudden, Logan Helton, I don't know what it was, but he found a groove and he stuck in it, winning at Las Vegas, the Charlotte Roval, and Kansas. He's now looking for his 4th win of the playoffs, 8th win overall, and he gets it here tonight at Iowa.
And then coming in 2nd place, David Santini, Kevin Roy, and now 4th place is going to be Barry Stevens that gets by Tyner at the end.
Stevens will not advance to the Final Four, but he will finish in the top 5 in the 4th position. Aaron Tyner, the only non-playoff contender that's going to finish inside of the top 5 and on the lead lap. And Jeffrey Meyer will finish 1 lap down in 6th. Evan Longecker 2 laps down in 7th. Those 2 via points finish high enough that they will join Helton and Santini in the Final Four for the championship next week.
Yeah, I mean, right now, looking at our Final Four, David Santini, Logan Helton, our favorites. I mean, Evan Longacre throughout the whole entire season was Mr. Consistent with getting top 5 finishes, just couldn't get the win because of how strong BJ McLeod's been. Jeffrey Meyer, another driver that has been shown pace, but consistency is the thing that's been hindering this 38 machine. All the cards need to be thrown down and hope for the best, but it's good to see we now know our Final Four and who's going to be battling at ISM.
Logan Helton burning it down here on the front straightaway, and we'll head to victory lane right down here on the front stretch. As we take a look at the finishing results from tonight's event, Helton, 2 wins here during this round. Santini 1 as BJ McLeod Motorsports will sweep the round of 8. Kevin Roy, his second top 5, but his best finish of the season of 3rd. Stevens in 4th, Tyner in 5th. And you look at some of these other drivers down here on the list. Tim Williams, heartbreak for him tonight, came in a must-win situation. He'll finish 3 laps down in 8th. Roger Gregory there in 9th. And TJ Crampton, who had the first issue here tonight, back I think it was on lap 4, fell 2 laps down early, still going to finish for a top 10 run.
Yeah, a top 10 run for TJ Crampton that started off terribly. I mean, he was back in last place for the longest time, and just by staying out here, running his laps, really figuring out this track, top 10 finish for himself.
And it was an early night and an early exit here from the Final Four for Carson Bowers as he parked his car in the garage area just past the halfway point of this race. Going to finish tonight out in the 14th position. He'll join Tim Williams as well as Kevin Roy and Barry Stevens, not advancing into the Final Four next week at ISM Raceway. We're going to talk with our top 3 finishers here tonight, but we talked about, Sam, the battling between the 8 and the 99. A couple of teammates, but competitors nonetheless, about this kind of being a statement race. So has Logan Helton made the statement, thrown down the gauntlet, that next week he's the guy to beat for that championship?
I mean, with them both tying now with the most wins of the season, I think this is a statement in a way, saying, hey, I've got the momentum going forward. Yes, you've won a race so far this round, but I've won 2 this round. I'm the driver to watch out for going into next week and trying to get this championship done. But you really can't count out that 99 either, as he's been this most stable one, and we'll see if he can continue that next week, as it's going to be a dogfight between those 2 drivers, really.
I want to talk about 2 drivers that are so evenly matched. If we look at their statistics here after tonight's race, 8 wins apiece, 21 top 5s for Santini, 22 for Helton, and 25 top 10s between the both of them. I mean, you can't get any closer than that. It has been a dogfight, tooth and nail between these 2 teammates, but you have to wonder next week, what do some of these drivers we've seen be really good on the long run and Evan Longacre and Jeffrey Meyer have in store? ISM is going to be a crazy one next week. But we are now going to talk to the drivers that did well here tonight at Iowa. And let's kick things off with a guy who gets his best finish of the season. 3rd place here tonight for Kevin Roy. Hey, Kevin, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Well, I mean, Kevin, you came into tonight's race basically in a must-win situation. You were able to play those cautions perfectly to keep yourself on the lead lap. We saw that move you made there on that final restart going into turn 1. In the must-win situation, you saw the opportunity there. You went for it. If it had stuck, if you'd been able to clear those guys and get up there into that 2nd position, do you think you would have had something for this race win to get yourself into that Final Four?
Maybe. I guess we'll never know. Logan is such a tough competitor. Even Barry, Steven, and David Santini. It was great to run up front with those guys. When I made that move on Barry, I applied a little bit too much brake, which made me tight, and I didn't want him to pass him like that. So I'm sorry, Barry. But tonight was just fantastic. Iowa is my best track. This is where I got the most win in every categories. So I knew I had to come strong tonight, and I decided to make my pit stop the latest as possible, and it paid off for me.
You know, we saw a lot of drivers try and stretch their cars the furthest they could go. Obviously, with the track temperature tonight, it didn't look like it'd be that much of a hindrance as far as wearing down those tires, but we know with the progressive banking here at Iowa that tires are always a key concern. How difficult was it to conserve tires? Because you were one of those drivers that was able to stretch it the longest on a run.
I got some tips, some other driver on other leagues on how to manage better my tire. Last week at Texas, I did try those tips, which helped me out pretty much. But basically, as I said, Iowa is my favorite track, and I know how to go around this track, so it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, we saw that you were trying the best you could on those final couple of laps there, getting into Barry. But before that, you were trying to make your final green flag pit stop. We saw that you had issues on entry of pit road. How difficult was it trying to get into pit road here at Iowa?
I thought I was able to come by, make a fast pit stop, but I misjudged it. I came a little bit too fast, which I missed. This one's pretty tough. The pit is coming quickly, and you got to make your move fast and able to a perfect pit stop.
Well, Kevin, obviously a little bit of a bittersweet night for you. Obviously, you missed out on making it to the Final Four, but your best finish of the season, your first finish inside of the podium as well with a third place run. I mean, congratulations on that. We're now going to let you do some shout-outs.
First of all, I want to do a shout out to you guys for broadcasting the league. You do a pretty good job. Second of that, Rapid Fire Pizza, FSM Custom, Veterans of Foreign War, and all the other sponsors. Sorry if I missed one. To all the other competitors on the league, the field is pretty much great. Hopefully, I'll be able to come back next year. And to the league admin.
That's Kevin Roy. Brings it home P3 here tonight at Iowa Speedway. Best finish of the season. Once again, congratulations on a great performance here tonight at Iowa.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
And let's get our second place finisher, David Santini. Hey, David, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Hey, guys, I got you.
Well, we were just looking over at the statistics coming into tonight's race and leaving tonight's race. I mean, you and Logan Helton have been the class of the field all season long. You guys are practically even now in terms of your statistics. You guys, the only ones that have won here during the round of 8. The two of you going to be in a dogfight going into the championship finale at ISM. You now know, however, who your competition is going to be in Evan Longacre and Jeffrey Meyer. So what kind of a strategy do you formulate heading into the season finale?
Well, yeah, no, we definitely have some strong cars, and it's going to be pretty interesting next week. I have a feeling a little bit of strategy is going to come into play. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll have some pretty fast cars here. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, you guys had already taken to Phoenix earlier on this season where you took the checkered flag, but you guys are going to be going to the different configuration of ISM now. Do you think having that previous win at this track, even though it's a different configuration, gives you a little bit of an added edge, or do you think that everyone's going to kind of be at a clean slate going into the finale?
Well, it definitely helps. I mean, it definitely helps too having this race the week before, which is a similar style track, short track, I guess you could say. So it helps. This is kind of like a warm-up race, I guess. You know, I didn't really have to win or place well at all. It didn't matter what happened. So, you know, we have some ideas for next week here. So see what we can do. See what kind of car we can have.
Yeah, I mean, David, I know everyone you as well as Logan are already locked in. Have you guys already been working on your ISM setup even before, once you knew you were locked in?
No, I haven't even. I think I maybe ran 10 laps there in the past few months just to try it out. But no, that'll begin probably tomorrow. I'm sure it'll begin tomorrow.
David, we certainly are looking forward to this season finale at ISM. Great run for you here tonight. The consistency continues for you with a second place run at Iowa. Really looking forward to seeing what this buildup is going to bring for a final result when we end up finding out who's going to hoist that championship trophy. But let's turn the microphone over. Let you do some shout outs.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to give a huge shout out to Barry and Logan on my team this year. Really strong runs. It's a shame what happened here to Barry at the end, getting into it there and, you know, losing his shot there at the Final Four. It would have been really cool to have all 3 cars there in the Final Four. But no, a huge shout out to you guys for doing these broadcasts all year, and then everybody who runs the league. They run a great league. iRacing, iFlag, FSM Custom, Shorebirds Racing Graphics, Abiding Love More Earns, and of course Bearing for being on the car.
That's David Santini. Already was locked into the Final Four coming into tonight's race. Brings it home second, and we'll look to see if he can finish one position better to hoist a championship trophy next week. Great run tonight, David. Good luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
And now let's see if we can get a word with our race winner, Logan Helton. Hey, Logan, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, 2 wins here during the round of 8. You came into tonight's race already knowing you were going to compete for the championship 4. We kind of saw you and your teammate in the 99, Santini, kind of realizing that and racing each other as if this was a statement race of who might have the advantage going into ISM. Do you think that tonight you've made that statement that everybody's going to have to go through you of those other 3 championship competitors to take that trophy away from you? Or do you still think there's going to be something to have to prove when you get there to ISM next week?
Well, I do feel like I did a good job tonight of just kind of, I don't know, putting everybody else on notice, I guess you could say. But I know I'm not going to get too cocky and say that I've got it locked up for Phoenix. So I'm definitely going to be, it's going to be a challenge for Phoenix, but I'm excited for it. And no matter how it turns out, this was just a really fun season.
You know, we've seen here, especially during the playoffs, where you've really turned it up. This is our 6th playoff race, and you've gone to victory lane in 4 of them. What was it when the playoffs started that you think turned around, that you've now been able to tie your teammate Santini for most wins in the league at 8 and have this kind of momentum heading into the season finale?
I think it was just mostly just practice. At the beginning of the season, I took it as any other league, just I'd maybe do a couple laps during the week, and then I'd show up and run my race. And for a while, I was okay with David winning most races just because I knew I didn't put enough work into it. But then I realized how much an open setup league needs you to work hard for it. So I started putting up the work towards the end of the playoffs, and ever since then, it's really paid off.
Yeah, I mean, work is and a lot of practice is needed for sure. And ever since you knew you were locked in, have you put any time into ISM here, Logan, just to set up for that final race?
Um, I've done a little bit of practice on it, not enough to get something I'm confident with yet, just because I wanted to try and make a statement tonight. But I've been getting a little bit ready for it, and it's definitely going to be a intense race, short track racing for sure.
Certainly is, and we're certainly looking forward to it here, Logan, and going to be very interested to see what you're able to do with that number 8 machine next week. But you put it in victory lane here tonight, yet again during the playoffs. Your 8th win of the season. Congratulations on that. 8 for the 8 seems quite fitting. And we're now going to let you do some shout outs.
Well, first, thanks to all the sponsors of the league: Rapid Fired Pizza, iRacing, iFlag, FSM Customs, Shorewas Racing Graphics, and Untitled Memorial Urns. Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. My team at BJ McLeod Motorsports, all my friends and family that watch, McConey Setup Shop, RGC Media, and LKH Racing, and I think that's it.
That's Logan Helton. He puts it in victory lane here tonight at Iowa Speedway. We'll see if he can do it 1 week from now to be able to capture himself a championship trophy here in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. Congrats on a great run tonight here, Logan. Good luck next week with yourself and those championship 3.
Thank you very much.
And let's see now if we can actually talk with some of our other drivers that have advanced into the Final 4 as well. See what their strategy is heading into the Final 4 battle at ISM. And let's kick things off with the driver that was running in the 3rd position in points coming into this race. And a 6th position run was enough to get him into the championship battle. That would be Jeffrey Meyer. Hey, Jeffrey, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, man, I mean, you came into this race inside the Final 4. You did what you needed to do to point your way into that championship battle, but a couple of bumps along the road there. We saw you have that spin out of turn 4. You got trapped a lap down. Were you basically just trying to target a certain position to finish to make sure you were going to advance?
I just didn't want to freaking spin myself out. I figured I could finish, top 3, 4. I thought I don't know where those guys are getting the speed, but I thought I had a lot better car than what I did. So once I saw the speed those guys had, I was just going to play it safe and finish the race. The spin, that was just dumb. I don't know. It just broke loose.
Well, Jeffrey, I mean, you guys, you're having your championship finale next week at ISM. So, what's the strategy going into that one? Obviously, you may not want to give too much away to your other three championship competitors, but I mean, do you have a strategy going into that one, or currently are you trying to formulate one?
Go faster. That's my strategy.
That's a pretty good strategy to
The only
have
thing
there,
I got.
Jeffrey.
The only thing I got is go faster.
I will say though, Jeffrey, you do seem to have the pace. It's just at the start you have the pace to really challenge those guys. It just seems like on the longer runs they just keep that speed way more than the other drivers do. How difficult is it going into this race? Is it more of, you've said you want to go faster, but also are you kind of banking on them just having an off day and being caught up in something?
Well, yeah, but I plan on being towards the front too. So if they get caught up in something, I'll probably get caught up in something. There's just not a lot of room at Phoenix, so I just don't want something stupid taking one of us out. Let us race, and I just hope it's a good, clean race.
Well, we certainly hope that too, Jeffrey. I mean, congratulations on advancing into that championship four. As Sam alluded to, your pace has definitely been picking up here at the latter half of the regular season into the playoffs. And so we're certainly expecting to see you up there battling for that championship next week. We're now going to turn the microphone over to let you some shout outs.
I got to give a shout out to Ryko Motorsports, FSM Customs, you guys for doing the broadcasts, Shorba Racing Graphics, Rapid Fire Pizza. Me and Evan kind of had a rough night, but we accomplished what we needed to.
Well, that's Jeffrey Meyer. We'll be seeing him battle for the championship next week at ISM Raceway. Congratulations on advancing, Jeffrey, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
And let's now see if we can get the other driver that will be battling for said championship next week, and that is Evan Longacre. Hey, Evan, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, you got me?
We definitely do. Well, man, we saw you back at Kansas try and make it on fuel. We've seen you try a lot of different strategies during the course of these playoffs. You've been able to advance your way now into the Final Four. So what is the final strategy with a championship on the line next week?
Go out and win the race. Go out and get it. Go out and get a win. Everything's reset. Nothing before this matters. Everything is out the window. Everything's reset. Everything is completely even. So that's the plan. Go out and put in some work this week and run a lot of laps and see if I can't go back to back. I was able to get it done last year, so I guess I've got the advantage of had being in this situation or had been in this situation before. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is kind of it's a long season from February till now. You only get a race once a week. If you hit the wall, your race is over. So it's a long, long season, and this is the goal to get to have a shot. That's all you want, really.
Evan, looking at earlier on this year when you drivers went to Phoenix, now obviously we're going to the same track, but an entirely different configuration in ISM. You managed to finish in the 4th position there. So we know that you're really good at getting around that racetrack. How much are you going to be relying on maybe some information from your teammates and everything too? Because we've seen your team as a whole have been really good on the long run. Is there going to be a lot of information bouncing back and forth there to try and make sure that this number 10 machine is going to be at its peak performance?
No, yeah. There's going to be a lot of laps turned by a lot of different people. Just trying to see, what makes a difference on lap 40. Just to see what can give you the advantage on the long run. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Last year I finished second or third at Phoenix before Homestead, the championship race. I ran well there earlier this year. It's a track that I'm comfortable at. It's a short track. It's kind of you got to get into a little bit of a groove. It's a little bit of a driver's track. It's really flat in some spots. Every corner is different, so it's a really fun track. It'll be neat to see how the racing plays out there with everything on the line.
Yeah, I mean, Evan, next week it's going to be crazy to watch this championship go down. But here tonight, I mean, there were a lot of moments where you felt like you probably were almost out of the Final Four. How was your night overall, though, before we talk about next week?
It was frustrating. I didn't get to show at all what my car had in it. I had a really fast race car, honestly, so that kind of sucked. I pit a little bit early on the first one, um, first cycle, just to come out with fresher tires, and the yellow came out. So I was, at Iowa, you go 2 laps down when you pit under green. So I was trapped 2 laps down, got one back through the wave, got myself in lucky dog position, keep going, and I'm 1 lap from running out of fuel. So I come into pit, and as soon as I come back out, the dang yellow comes out, and I get trapped 2 laps down again. So I mean, I knew the point situation with Barry. Um, Unfortunately, I was trapped in seventh. So even if he wouldn't have won and led a lap, I think if he would have finished second, that would have made it pretty tight. And I don't know where what the tiebreaker would have done or where that would have ended it up at. But I knew all night I was on the verge. So I knew I was on the verge of being in or out. So whenever you're trapped 2 laps down and you're in seventh and he's got that opportunity, it's pretty nerve wracking.
Well, Evan, nonetheless, a great comeback for you here tonight, as you mentioned, getting trapped a lap down under that early yellow flag. Still, regardless of the fact, as you said, we didn't quite get to see the speed out of that car up inside of the top 5 that it really had. Still, a great performance for you here tonight. That momentum will hopefully carry over into next week at ISM. And as you mentioned, a lot of experience at that track as well. So we'll see if that's going to be able to carry you over there into winning that championship next week at ISM. We wish you luck with that. And now we're going to turn the microphone over to you. Let's do some shout outs.
Yeah. At the end there, I mean, I was trying to be really respectful with David. I mean, I was 2 laps down, but I tried to show a little, or just see what my car could do, on the short run, and I was able to keep up with him for the most part. So definitely didn't get to flex a whole lot of muscle, but I got to thank Rapid Fire Pizza for sponsoring the car, FSM Customs, Abiding Love Memorial Urns. I got to thank Shorba's Racing Paints, puts the paints on my car, makes the car look awesome. Probably going to come up with something cool for championship weekend. Don't know what we're going to do yet, but I might want to try and incorporate something from last year's championship run. That car, it was the 48 for Chip Ganassi. So might try and throw something in on that to kind of tie it together. Got to thank you guys for doing the broadcast every week and doing this extra interview with the championship 4 guys. That's pretty cool that you guys took the extra time to do that, and I appreciate it. Got to thank my teammates, Carson Bowers on College Racing, Matt White, he wasn't here tonight, and then I run laps with Jeffrey Meyer too, so I got to thank him as well. So Jeffrey and I, it's definitely going to be a team effort between us two, trying to see what we can do. Hopefully, it comes down to us 1 and 2. That would just be an awesome end of the season here. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next weekend at the virtual Phoenix ISM Raceway.
Sounds good. That's Evan Longacre. He brings it home in the 7th position here tonight at Iowa, but it's enough to advance to the championship for next week. Best of luck there, Evan, and we look forward to seeing if maybe next week we'll be talking to you in championship victory lane.
We will see. I'll give it my best shot. Thanks, guys.
Interesting there on that last interview, Sam, as well, because it's 2 Toyota Supras versus 2 Chevrolet Camaros going into next week, and it's sounding like those 2 Camaro drivers, Jeffrey Meyer and Evan Longacre, they're saying, if we're going to best those BJ McLeod Supras, we've got to work together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, both the Toyotas of David Santini, Logan Helton, teammates of BJ McLeod, and they have been just the most dominant cars all season long, both with 8 wins, and both Jeffrey Meyer and Evan Longacre. Neither of them have won a race this season, and I think that's really the key is if they're going to win this championship, they're most likely going to have to win the race. And it's going to be a lot of work out there. Evan Longacre, though, with his stats, it looks like he is just bound to get a win at some point, just based on how many top 5s and top 10s he has.
Yeah, and how amazing would it be if his first win of the season ends up being the season finale with a championship on the line? You wouldn't be able to write a storybook ending any better than that. I don't know if next week we're going to have to call the Team RSS Colleague Racing or not, but we'll have to wait and see what the end result will be. Will it be Helton? Will it be Santini? Will it be Meyer? Or will it be Longacre that will be hoisting the championship trophy? And we have to remember here too, Sam, as well, while it seems likely this will be the case, it doesn't necessarily have to be win the race to win the championship. It's going to come down between those 4 as to who finishes the highest. So if you finish the highest in third, you're still going to win that championship.
Yeah, it's all about being in front of the other 3 drivers that you're racing up against. You just got to beat them. It's not always about just the win. So some strategies might come in of, hey, I might not win the race with this strategy, but I could possibly pass these 3 drivers.
And of course, there's going to be other drivers in the field that are all going to be out there trying to finish out the season with a checkered flag. And we've seen a lot of times in different series where those non-playoff contenders, they get racing, they get involved in a wreck, and before you know it, one of your Final Four's championship hopes are dashed. So we'll have to see if our Final Four can first survive and then retrieve the championship trophy next week at ISM. It's going to be a great one, but here tonight, a good race at Iowa. 3 long green flag runs intermingled with a couple of cautions that really kind of shuffled up the running order of the field. We ended this race with 5 drivers on the lead lap, but 4 drivers emerged from the ashes, moving on to the championship 4 at ISM. Sam, a crazy one here tonight. Looking forward to ISM. Appreciate you joining me here this evening, and looking forward to having you with me next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure to be up in the booth, and I'm more excited also. Yes, we got next week for the championship, but we also have our final 8 for the drivers tomorrow night. That's going to be a wild one as well to see how they finish out.
Absolutely. I believe in that one, only 1 driver is locked into the Final Four. So there's still 3 spots up for grabs in that regard. And 7 drivers want those 3 positions, as they'll be taking here to Iowa Speedway for 225 laps to determine their championship 4 for the Veterans of Four More Cup Series. And before that, rolling off at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, we've got the 6th annual Hollowdega special event on the Ender 2003 side. Going to be a good one there. 94 laps at a Halloween-themed Talladega Superspeedway. So a Halloween doubleheader for you guys tomorrow, and that'll be taking place here on FRN. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to tonight's event. We hope you enjoyed our coverage. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.